10 years on, what do we now know about the disappearance of MH370?
The search for Malaysia Airlines Flight MH370 has become the most expensive operation in aviation history, costing between $135 million to $160 million since its mysterious disappearance. After multiple failed attempts spanning over a decade, advanced underwater drone technology is finally offering new hope in locating the aircraft that vanished without a trace. Stay right here, because in the next few minutes, we're going to break down exactly what this underwater drone found, what it means, and why some people really didn't want this discovery to come to light. The disappearance that shook the world. March 8, 2014. That date might not ring a bell at first, but it should. That was the day an ordinary overnight flight turned into the stuff of global nightmares. Malaysia Airlines Flight MH370 took off from Kuala Lumpur just after midnight, heading for Beijing. There were 239 people on board, people with families, stories, dreams, plans. It was a typical flight, nothing out of the ordinary, but that flight never made it. It vanished. No trace, no warning, no explanation. And honestly, who just loses a whole plane in this day and age, right? We've all seen wild theories and endless headlines about Flight MH370. But now, forget the guesswork. After 11 long years, an underwater drone may have finally shown us the truth. But where was the plane hiding all this time? Why did we never find it before? And what makes this drone so special? You'll want to sit tight, because the final clue it uncovered might just blow your mind. Now, let's rewind to the timeline of events, because that's where things get real eerie. The plane, a Boeing 777-200ER, was cruising peacefully at 35,000 feet by 1:01 a.m. Everything seemed smooth, normal, textbook even. At 1:07 a.m., a routine data system called ACARS sent out its last message. No red flags, just your average, "Hey, we're good, heading to Beijing" kind of message. Then, at 1:19 a.m., the pilot, Captain Zahari Ahmad Shah, made his last radio call. "Good night, Malaysian 370. Can you imagine? That's the last thing anyone ever heard from that plane. 2 minutes later, boom! The transponder, which helps radar keep track of the aircraft, was deliberately turned off. Deliberately. That's the part that makes your skin crawl a little. Not a malfunction. Not turbulence. Someone switched it off. But here's where it gets even more haunting. Civilian radar lost it completely. But military radar? Oh, they kept watching. The plane didn't just disappear into thin air. Nope, it made a mysterious westward turn, cutting right across the Malay Peninsula, flying like it had a mind of its own. By 2:22 a.m., it was picked up one last time, some 200 nautical miles northwest of Penang Island. And after that, radio silence, literally. Yet weirdly, the satellite systems kept picking up tiny little pings from the plane for hours afterward. Between 3:41 and 8:19 a.m., the aircraft's satellite data unit kept responding to automated signals. The final signal, what they call a log-on request, was recorded at 8:19 a.m. That was probably just before the plane ran out of fuel and, well, crashed into the Indian Ocean, they believe. But believe is the key word here, because no one actually saw it happen. And you would think that with all our satellites and fancy radar and global connectivity, they'd track it down in minutes, right? No, not even close. The first few days were honestly a mess. Everyone was looking in the wrong place, the South China Sea, because that's where they thought the plane had gone missing. Meanwhile, it had already veered off course. The Malaysian search and rescue team didn't even kick into gear until after 6:30 a.m., 4 hours after the plane had gone silent. By 7:24 a.m., Malaysia Airlines made its first official statement, but by then, the chaos had already started brewing. Once they figured out that weird westward turn, the search moved dramatically. From the South China Sea, efforts spread out into the Strait of Malacca and the Andaman Sea. But it was quickly clear this was no ordinary search. It turned into one of the largest and most expensive aviation hunts ever. And the numbers? Insane. We're talking 29 planes, 6 helicopters, 18 ships, and help from 26 countries. Even satellites got involved, 20 of them from China alone. At one point, they were combing through an area nearly 7.7 million square kilometers. That's like trying to find a needle in 10 haystacks, scattered across an endless ocean. By March 15th, Malaysia's Prime Minister Najib Razak stood before the world and confirmed what everyone feared but couldn't believe.
MH370 did indeed turn back.
The plane had kept flying for hours after it dropped off the radar. Satellite data showed 2 possible paths. Either it flew northwest towards Central Asia or southwest into the southern Indian Ocean.
And in this case, this particular piece of the plane had taken about 1.5 years to float all the way across the Indian Ocean.
And sadly, the more they looked into it, the more it pointed to the southern Indian Ocean, a place so remote and brutal that just reaching it was a mission in itself. Now, imagine the families during all this. In Beijing, loved ones gathered in designated centers, desperately waiting for news, any news. Some were sobbing, some were angry, all were heartbroken. Malaysia Airlines scrambled to provide support, deploying senior staff and caregivers, even offering financial help. But you know how grief and confusion go, nothing feels like enough. And to make matters worse, behind the scenes, the international collaboration had its cracks. Countries were reluctant to share military data, probably because of national security stuff. Satellite info was delayed, and some nations were openly worried about China flexing its military muscle during the whole thing. So while it looked like the world was coming together, it wasn't all smooth sailing. Then came March 24th, a date that broke 1,000 hearts. After analyzing satellite handshakes, basically the ghost signals the plane sent to satellites, Malaysian officials made a gut-wrenching announcement. Flight MH370 had ended in the southern Indian Ocean. No survivors, no wreckage found, just a heartbreaking conclusion. And the worst part? Some families didn't even get a phone call. They got text messages. Can you imagine losing someone and being told over text that they're gone forever? It was devastating. And yet, the story didn't end there. Because what followed was years of searching, speculation, theories, and heartbreak. People started asking questions. Big ones. Was it hijacked? Was it a mechanical failure with a bizarre twist of fate? Theories flew like wildfire, from the plausible to the absolutely bonkers. And honestly, who could blame them? When you lose a plane without a trace in an age of Google Maps and live tracking, your brain has to fill in the blanks somehow, right? So here we are, all these years later, and the wreckage? Barely anything. A few pieces washed up on distant shores like Reunion Island and Madagascar, but the full plane never recovered. It's like the ocean swallowed it whole and locked away the answers. And the families? They're still waiting, still hoping for closure. Because how do you move on from something that ended without an ending? Honestly, the MH370 mystery feels like one of those real-life unsolved puzzles that keeps scratching at the back of your brain. It's not just about a missing plane. It's about the lives that vanished with it, the questions left behind, and the strange realization that sometimes, even in our ultra-connected world, things can still just disappear. And you can't help but wonder, what really happened that night up in the sky? For 11 years, Flight MH370 has been the biggest mystery in aviation until now. An underwater drone just revealed something game-changing. But what exactly did it find? Why is the ocean suddenly giving up its secrets? And could this finally bring closure to the families who've waited so long? Keep watching till the very end, because the last few moments are where everything finally clicks into place. The evolution of the search. Right after the MH370 plane disappeared, Everyone jumped into action. Or, well, tried to. But there was already a huge hiccup. The Kuala Lumpur Aeronautical Rescue Coordination Center didn't even get activated until around 5:30 in the morning, over 4 hours after the last contact with the plane. 4 hours. Like, think about how much can happen in 4 hours. That's enough time to fly across multiple countries. So the clock was already ticking, and they were behind before they even got started. At first, the search teams were looking in totally the wrong place. The South China Sea and the Gulf of Thailand. That's where they thought the plane had gone down. It made sense at the time based on early assumptions, but turns out that wasn't it at all. Still, they didn't waste any time. By March 9th, just a day later, things had escalated fast. There were about 40 aircraft and more than 20 ships from all over, Malaysia, China, Australia, the US, scouring the seas. Everyone wanted answers. But then came the plot twist. Military radar picked up a signal suggesting the plane had made a sharp turn to the west, away from its original path. So now, the search had to shift, completely. They moved the focus to the Strait of Malacca, on the opposite side of Malaysia. And get this, on March 12th, Malaysian officials announced that their military radar had tracked what they believed was Flight MH370 in the Andaman Sea, around 320 kilometers northwest of Penang Island. That's when India was pulled into the picture, asked to help search in that region. Just imagine being part of that search team, chasing a ghost trail across open ocean, following pings and clues that might lead to nothing or everything. And then, another major turning point. On March 17th, Australia agreed to lead the hunt in the southern Indian Ocean. This was big. The Australian Maritime Safety Authority took the reins and started combing a mind-blowingly huge area, 600,000 square kilometers, between Australia and the Kerguelen Islands. Ever heard of the Kerguelen Islands? No? Exactly. They're so remote that Australia's Prime Minister at the time, Tony Abbott, described the area as close to nowhere as it's possible to be. I mean, how spooky is that? A plane disappears, and the most promising clues point to literally the middle of nowhere. The search kept shifting. Satellite data and experts analyzing possible flight paths were constantly refining the area. By March 28th, the entire operation shifted again, 1,100 kilometers northeast, now focusing on an area 1,850 kilometers west of Perth. And they weren't just dipping toes in the water. The surface search was massive. By the time they called it off on April 28th, they had covered 4.5 million square kilometers of ocean. That's bigger than India. All that, and still, no trace of the wreckage. At this point, they realized, if it's not on the surface, it has to be underwater. So, the next phase began, going deep, really deep. The Ocean Shield vessel was brought in, armed with a towed pinger locator called the TPL-25. Basically, they were listening for any ping from the plane's black box underwater. They focused on a 240-kilometer stretch of the ocean floor that they believed might be the crash site. Between 2014 and 2016, they didn't just search blindly. They used state-of-the-art echo sounding to map 279,000 square kilometers of ocean floor. That's uncharted territory, and the data they collected was unlike anything ever done before in that part of the world. But for all that effort, nothing turned up. No wreckage, no black box, no major pieces of the plane. For 2 years, it was like trying to find a needle in a haystack the size of a continent. Then, finally, on July 29, 2015, something changed. A piece of the wing, called a flaperon, washed up on Réunion Island, a tiny little dot in the Indian Ocean.
The wing part, suspected of belonging to that missing Malaysian Airlines jet, is now in a lab for analysis.
That was the first confirmed piece of MH370. Can you imagine the bittersweet feeling of that discovery? After all that time, finally something, a tragic confirmation, but a confirmation nonetheless. And that opened the floodgates. Over time, More than 20 other pieces of possible debris were found on beaches and islands off the African coast and in the Indian Ocean. Each one was like a puzzle piece, each helping to validate the idea that the plane had indeed gone down somewhere in that massive southern corridor. The ocean currents matched up with where debris would have drifted if the plane had crashed where they thought it did. So little by little, the theory was cemented, even if the wreckage itself still hadn't been found. The official underwater search was called off on January 17, 2017. They had searched a priority zone of 120,000 square kilometers and spent a jaw-dropping $155 million in the process. Just think about that, $155 million. Malaysia footed most of the bill, 58%, while Australia covered 32%, and China pitched in 10%. All that money, all that time, all that effort, and still the plane itself remained hidden. Heartbreaking doesn't even begin to cover it. Even after that, in 2018, a private company called Ocean Infinity stepped in.
Jane, Ocean Infinity is the company behind this search, and they have now sent their Armada 7806 vessel around 1,500 kilometres off the coast of Perth.
They believed they could do what the others hadn't, using 8 autonomous underwater vehicles, basically deep-sea drones. They searched another 112,000 square kilometers. Still, no sign of the wreck. But here's the thing, even though the plane wasn't found, those missions revolutionized our knowledge of the Indian Ocean floor. The maps and data collected during this hunt are now being used for everything from climate research to future search operations. This made MH370's disappearance one of the most chilling and mysterious events in aviation history. It's been over a decade since Malaysia Airlines Flight 370 vanished without a trace. And just when the world had almost given up, an underwater drone may have finally cracked the case. But how did this high-tech gadget uncover what satellites and search teams couldn't for years? Why did it take so long? And what exactly did it find deep down in the ocean? Stick around till the end, because the final detail will leave your jaw on the floor. How underwater drones changed everything. After all these years of searching, guessing, and hoping, March 2025 finally brought some real movement on the MH370 mystery. Can you believe it's been over a decade? Seriously, how does a whole aeroplane just vanish in 2014? And still, we don't have all the answers? But now, finally, there's a new spark of hope. The Malaysian government, after so many years of dead ends and silence, officially gave the green light for another search. And not just any search, oh no. This time, they've teamed up with Ocean Infinity, the same group that's already been out there before. But here's the twist that makes things really interesting. It's a no-find, no-fee deal. Yes, you heard that right. Ocean Infinity only gets paid if they actually find the wreckage of MH370. And if they do, they walk away with a cool $70 million. That's a whole new level of motivation, isn't it? But the real game changer, it's the tech they're bringing to the table this time around. Ocean Infinity is not playing around. They've brought in their big guns, a beast of a ship called the Armada 7806. It's 78 meters long, so yeah, it's massive, built by a Norwegian company called Vard back in 2023. And it's basically like a floating sci-fi lab. And guess what? It's not just the ship that's impressive, it's what's riding along with it. This vessel is launching a fleet of autonomous underwater vehicles, or AUVs, that are straight-up robotic submarines. Like the kind of stuff you'd expect in a movie about the future. These high-tech drones were made by Kongsberg, and they're able to dive as deep as 6,000 meters and just chill down there doing their thing for up to 100 hours at a time.
The search will cover 15,000 square kilometres and be led by British firm Ocean Infinity.
Can you even wrap your head around that? Imagine a robot cruising along the ocean floor in pitch-black water, scanning every rock and ridge for days without needing help. And these AUVs? Oh, they're not just swimming around aimlessly. No, they're armed with some mind-blowing sonar systems. They've got side-scan sonar, which gives them super sharp images of the sea floor, kind of like X-ray vision for the bottom of the ocean. Then there's synthetic aperture sonar that lets them detect even the tiniest objects, and multi-beam sonar that maps the terrain like a 3D video game landscape. Oh, and just in case anything's buried under layers of sediment, there's sub-bottom profiling sonar to peek underneath. Like seriously, how much more advanced can this tech get? It's wild. Now, where exactly are they searching? That's another piece of the puzzle. They've zeroed in on this 15,000 square kilometer stretch in the southern Indian Ocean. And here's the crazy part. It includes areas that have never been searched before. Can you believe that? All this time, and there are still spots nobody has looked at. The current search is backed by new data models that have been refined and reanalyzed over the past 10 years. It's like they went back and cleaned the chalkboard, recalculated every formula, and finally said, okay, this is where we should be looking. Operations actually kicked off in February 2025, so things are already in motion. And here's where it gets a bit controversial, but also kind of fascinating. One of the tools helping them figure out where the plane might have gone is something called WSPR, which stands for Weak Signal Propagation Reporter. Basically, it's a radio signal tracking system that was originally meant for ham radio enthusiasts to see how far their signals were bouncing around the world. But now, some experts believe these same signals could have tracked MH370. I know, sounds far-fetched, right? But according to this aerospace engineer named Richard Godfrey, there were 313 anomalies in the signal data at the estimated time and location of MH370. 313! That's not a small number, but not everyone's convinced. Some people think the signals are just too weak to really mean anything. So, is it genius detective work or is it wishful thinking? Hard to say, but it's definitely another clue on the board. Of course, the Indian Ocean isn't exactly the friendliest place to go poking around. This new mission? It could take as long as 18 months to complete. Why so long? Well, for starters, we're talking about an area that's insanely deep. Some parts go down to 1,400 meters. That's like trying to search the bottom of a canyon, underwater, in the dark, with unpredictable weather. And don't forget, this zone is way off the beaten path. No shipping lanes, no regular traffic, just miles and miles of ocean. The only decent weather window they've got is between January and April, which means they have to make every single dive count. But honestly, what makes this search feel different? What makes it feel like we might finally get some closure is the tech. Like, it's not just that they've got better gear, it's that they've gotten smarter about how to use it. Ocean Infinity can now launch multiple underwater drones at once, which is huge because it speeds up the search big time. Plus, artificial intelligence is playing a major role. They're using AI to comb through massive amounts of satellite data, ocean current models, and past search results. It's like having a supercomputer do the detective work alongside human experts. And when you think about it, that's something we didn't have 10 years ago. This is the kind of technological leap that could finally make a difference. So here we are in 2025, with a ship that looks like it came from the future, a crew that's laser-focused, drones that can go where humans can't, and data models built on years and years of research.
We understand the communications that exist between the aircraft. It was pretty remarkable that an aircraft could disappear.
And let's be honest, there's a lot riding on this. Not just the $70 million, but the closure that families have been waiting for. The answers that have haunted people for over a decade. The simple human need to know. Because when a plane disappears like that, without a trace, it leaves behind a void. Not just in the sky, but in the hearts of everyone who's been waiting for a sign, a reason, a truth. So maybe, just maybe, this time will be different. Maybe this time, the ocean will finally give up its secret. What we know about the location revealed. Okay, so get this. After years, and I mean literal years, of combing through the ocean like it's some giant haystack with no needle in sight, it seems like we might finally be getting closer to figuring out what really happened to Malaysian Flight 370. And honestly, can you believe it's been over a decade? Like, how is that even possible? It still feels so fresh and baffling, like one of those true crime mysteries you just can't get out of your head. So now, all eyes are on this newly targeted spot deep in the Indian Ocean. And let me tell you, it's not your average patch of sea. No, it's the kind of place that makes even seasoned underwater search teams unsure to go to. Because the terrain there? Oh, it's wild. We're talking underwater cliffs, towering mountain ridges, a volcano, yes, underwater, and just to spice things up, a massive canyon thrown in like it's some sort of underwater Grand Canyon. And did I mention that parts of it go as deep as 6,000 meters? That's like, what, over 19,000 feet? Imagine trying to find wreckage in that kind of abyss.
They were designed with the latest electric work-class ROVs, seabed drills.
It's no wonder the plane has stayed hidden this long. Now here's where it gets really interesting. The current hot zone of the search is located somewhere between 1,560 and 2,400 kilometers west of Perth, Australia. That's far, like incredibly far out into the ocean. Richard Godfrey, one of the analysts working on this, says his analysis points to a spot at 29.128 degrees south and 99.934 degrees east, give or take 30 kilometers. And just when you think, okay, that must be it, another researcher, Dr. Vincent Line, steps in with his findings, which suggest a slightly different location at 33.02 degrees south and 100.27 degrees east. It's almost like two friends arguing over which cafe has the best coffee in town. Except this time, the stakes are ridiculously high, and the cafe is thousands of meters underwater. So, which one is right? That's the million-dollar question. Or actually, the $200 million question if we're counting the cost of the last official search effort. Speaking of that, remember the 2018 Ocean Infinity search? That mission covered an eye-watering 112,000 square kilometers of the ocean. You'd think with that kind of coverage, something would have turned up, right? But no, nada. Turns out, this new suspected crash site barely touched the edge of that old search zone.
Jane, Ocean Infinity is the company behind this search, and they have now sent their Armada 7806 vessel.
Like being a few inches off on a giant map. Can you imagine how frustrating that must be? You spend all that time, energy, and money searching one area only to find out that the thing you were looking for was probably just outside of it the whole time. It's like when you tear apart your house looking for your keys and then find them in your back pocket. But here's the thing. This time, they're using different tools. We're talking about a much more refined approach, using advanced signal analysis and, get this, something called WSPR technology. I know, it sounds like some sci-fi thing. WSPR stands for Weak Signal Propagation Reporter, and apparently it tracks how radio signals bounce around the world, and possibly off planes. That's where things get kind of controversial. Some experts are like, yeah, this could totally work, and others are rolling their eyes like, really? You're telling me radio signals can help us find a plane that went missing over 10 years ago? But still, it's kind of impressive how technology that didn't even exist back then is now giving us new hope. Peter Foley, the guy who led that massive ATSB search effort, even came out saying he's hopeful. And he's not just some random guy, he oversaw a $200 million search. So if he's saying this could lead somewhere, it makes you want to lean in a little more, doesn't it? But let's be honest, there's still a lot of back and forth in the expert community. Like with most big mysteries, not everyone agrees on the method, even if they agree that we need to find answers. And here's the bit that really makes your jaw drop. Dr. Line, the other researcher, he thinks the plane didn't just drop into a flat part of the ocean. No. According to him, MH370 might have slammed into the side of a steep underwater slope, not just fallen straight into one of those ridiculously deep ocean pits, like many assumed before. It's kind of chilling when you picture that, isn't it? It adds a whole new layer to the mystery. Because if that's true, maybe, just maybe, the wreckage has been there this whole time, clinging to the edge of that slope, buried under debris and ocean sediment, just out of sight. And you know what else is kind of wild? This whole new search zone they've mapped out. It's about 15,000 square kilometers. That might not sound huge, but that's roughly the size of Sydney. Imagine trying to find a broken plane in a city-sized area underwater, where the roads are actually canyons and volcanoes. Sounds impossible, right? But for the first time in a long time, the pieces are finally starting to make a little more sense. It's like those true crime documentaries where after years of cold leads, a single clue finally cracks the case open. Could this be that moment? So now, all we can really do is wait and hope. Hope that the teams get the green light. Hope that the search goes on. And most of all, hope that the families who've been living in limbo for so long finally get the closure they deserve. Because really, how would you feel if someone you loved just vanished off the face of the earth and no one could tell you where they went or why? That's the part that hits the hardest, isn't it? Behind all the tech, the analysis, and the exploration, there are people, mothers, fathers, kids, still waiting for answers. So fingers crossed, this new search zone really is the place. And who knows, maybe we're finally on the verge of putting the final piece into one of the most heartbreaking puzzles in modern history. With this, we have come to the end of this video. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, do well to like, comment, and subscribe for more content. To enjoy more thrilling stories, click now on the following video that pops up on your screen.